Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Alpha 7 changelog update video thing for Craftamari, where we'll be looking at all the little additions that I made this time around. So, as you can probably tell, I decided to go ahead and do a smaller update and have it be a month out from the last update instead of taking longer to do a big one. Honestly, it's not that small of an update, it's just the things I added were not anywhere remotely near the level of complication compared to Alpha 6. You know, just one of those, like the obsidian furnace, for it to say, was probably harder than almost everything I added in this update combined. That's not to say it wasn't time consuming, just didn't rack my brain as hard. But yeah, in not any particular order as usual, we're just going to go over the various things that I've added, starting with the blocks. First up, somehow in Alpha 6, I forgot to add a glow slime block, so we have a glow slime block now. It works just like a slime block, but it glows. I've actually got some over there lighting that dark area to stop mobs from spawning. It's not like mega bright. Do I say how bright it is? No, I don't. But there is, a new type of slime block that will prevent mobs from spawning in the area, I guess. Potentially useful, and it's nice to have a use for glow slime besides glow sticks. Next up, we have ghost sheep, which are over there. We'll look at them later, but they give you ghost wool, which is just see-through wool. You can make it into see-through carpet. The carpet's maybe not so obvious that it's see-through from here, but it is. You can see. So there's that. We have a corrupt slime block, which, it's kind of obvious how you'd get that. You got to corrupt glow slime to get corrupt slime. As you can see, it can corrupt nearby stuff by oozing its corruption out. So it won't corrupt things. Well, I think it can corrupt entities on top of it, but it won't corrupt blocks that are above it. Like the blight ice and stuff, it'll corrupt anything surrounding it. This one only does next to and below. So that's a little different. If you hear any weird noises during this video, I have let my cats into the room, which I usually don't do when recording, but I'm hoping that maybe if I do it once, maybe they'll get over the idea of me talking loudly to no one and not just constantly bug me. But right now, Errol is shoving her head in a box on my desk, which she's been obsessed with, so I'm just going to throw it on the floor, because this video is long enough without me talking to her constantly. All right. Anyway, though, so that's corrupt slime block. Sticks to stuff when you push it, all the good slime things. Next up, we have 10. All 4 of these blocks are 10. I decided to do something a little bit different with 10 and have it not spawn in regular stone. So instead, it can spawn in, what is this? Andesite, deep slate, granite, and then slate is special because you can't see it from the top. It's kind of hard mode. And yeah, they're all the same though. They give you 10. We can look here. Yeah, you get raw 10. You can make it into a 10 ingot. Nothing too fancy there. 10 is kind of a weird ore, and I don't know if anyone can help me with that, but I can't find a single thing in the world that pure tin is really that good for to like make an item out of. I couldn't find any reason to use pure tin, so it has no uses. I do need to make a block for it, but I've been planning tin for a long time. The only reason I hadn't added it to the game was I intended it to be a corrupt world ore to make bronze with copper, just add that little extra step, because corrupt world is supposed to be harder, so you can't just get iron. So that's what tin's for, but I decided to go ahead and add it and have it just be rare, so you won't be running into it too often. But if you find it, you can combine it with copper to make this, the raw bronze block, which this is a great idea in my mind. It's kind of janky, you might say, but it looks really cool, and it's a way to make bronze logically, because the actual percentages work out fairly well, having it be like 1/9 tin. And then you just smelt that into a bronze block, and then you can craft a bronze block into bronze ingots. So in the original version of Craftamari, before the name Craftamari even existed, we wanted to add bronze, but we tried 2 different methods. The first idea was you craft 2 ingots together into a stack, and then you cook those, which I thought about doing, but I didn't really like that option because it just adds a bunch of unnecessary items. At least with the block, you get a cool block item. So that's cool. And the other idea was to have a furnace with 2 slots. But since I've already had the obsidian furnace, I couldn't have the obsidian furnace be required for the bronze because it's supposed to be a low tier item. And therefore, I would have to have added multiple new alloy furnaces, or furni as they are known. And that just didn't seem logical. So this is, I think, a nice solution. And it's very useful because it's a very easy way to add a lot of different things. You might see something over there. Yes, it's not the only one in this update. But yeah, so bronze, I didn't bother pulling all the items out, but bronze has quite a few uses. You could make it all of these different things. And let me see here. I need to read about bronze items real quick. The armor is the exact same as iron armor. The tools are slightly slower at, breaking blocks down, and they're slightly worse at being enchanted, but they also are slightly more durable. The sword is just slightly more durable because it doesn't have like speed or anything. The idea is bronze is actually better than iron, but it's also heavier, so that'd make it slower. So yeah, it's just a way, like if you have a bunch of copper, you can get iron equivalent items essentially for free. And you got a nugget and some other stuff that I'll show later. But yeah, it's a full set. And this will be a bigger thing in the actual Corrupt world whenever that happens. Hopefully in 1.20. Who knows? We'll see. 1.20 still seems like it's a ways away. All right, next up we have the Sapphire block, which sapphires look like this. This is actually a texture from the original version of Craftamari again, which I decided, it's a nice texture, might as well bring it forward. So sapphires right now are obtained as a rare bonus drop from Batalayite ore, so they're extremely rare. But once again, Batalayite ore will be common in the Corrupt world, and maybe other worlds I add in the future. So they will be easier to get then. I've actually never found Batalayite in my little test, not test world, but the world that I'm playing on. I've never found it, but I've also not really looked for it. So who knows? It might be pretty easy to find if you're actually looking at the right Y heights for it instead of just playing. But beyond having this really cool texture, I actually really like this texture a lot. It's better than lapis, in my opinion, by far. But there's also sapphire glass, which is a real thing. But this is a glass that is still not explosion proof, but it can resist regular TNT and creeper explosions. I don't know why I said regular TNT, but regular creepers. It will be destroyed by a charged creeper, but those are so rare. Are you really going to run into one? So in essence, it's mostly explosion proof. And what all you do is you Inferno smelt one of these blocks and you'll get 3 of these. So it's definitely hard to get right now, but it does exist and you can have it. All right, next up, Electrum. So this is another Corrupt World thing that I just kind of added because I was already adding bronze and this was an easy addition. And I figured, might as well. I did actually, as part of this update, brainstorm a whole chain of items for the Corrupt World that starts with Electrum and gold and all that and goes further. But yeah, so Electrum, it's another real thing. It's not exactly like this, but yeah, so this Electrum block is 6 gold ingots, 2 silver ingots, and a copper ingot, which makes the Electrum block whenever you cook it. And then you can make Electrum stuff. It's just better than gold. It's kind of similar to Dragonstone, actually, in terms of its stuff. So I think it's a tier up. Do I say that? I don't say that in the changelog, but I believe it's a tier up from gold. So I think gold's equivalent to wood, and then this is equivalent to stone, I believe is how it works. And it lasts longer and all that good stuff. It has an ingot. All the good things. This is mostly useless. I don't expect actual gameplay to use Electrum all that much. I would like to give it to mobs as a thing they could use, but it's actually not super easy to give mobs items like that. And I'd have to... Yeah, I could do it, but I just haven't. It hasn't seemed like an important thing. But that's probably the long-term use for it, is Corrupt World mobs would probably be wielding Electrum stuff, and it's part of a process to get better items that I haven't added yet, because I haven't. They're just further out in the plans and have special things to them that I haven't done yet. Anyway, next up, we have the blight bale. This is made from blight wheat, which is made from blight grass, which you grow with blight seeds. It works like a hay bale, but it doesn't. It works like that in it reduces fall damage. It can't make campfire smoke because that's hard coded to only hay blocks, unfortunately. Maybe someday that will change and I'll add that feature. But there's a lot of things that are hard coded. It's really annoying to work around. But it is what it is. But yeah, I actually do need to show you guys the blight grass. This is actually going to be a bit of a thing. You might notice there's a lot of corrupt stuff. I actually internally call this the corrupt date, because one of the big focuses was making the corrupt world stuff, you know, more expanded. But anyway, let's go ahead and fill with blight grass. We need to move it up 1Y. There we go. That should be correct. There we go. All right, so this is blight grass. This was an idea I had. I'd, for a long time, wanted a grass that grew 2 blocks high so that you'd get that effect of being in a big field of like wheat or whatever. But I would really want that to be a biome, and I don't really want to add biomes to the main world, so we're getting it with the corrupt world. So this grass is made whenever grass, tall grass, and when I say grass, I don't mean the grass block, I mean like the little grasses. So whenever the little grass, the 2-block tall grass, or wheat gets corrupted, it will become this. And there will also be a corrupt world biome that's just this everywhere. But anyway, we need to increase the random tick speed significantly because we don't want to wait around for this to grow. It's really satisfying, isn't it? I kind of like having it be varied in color like that. I might change the code a bit so that some stay, because it actually won't grow all to the same height. And part of it has to do with lighting. So you can see here, its maximum growth height is determined by the light level. So here, you can't even grow it, but at each light level, it can grow 1 taller, which I thought was a cool effect, because this thing can spread. So I didn't want it to spread into caves and everything, so this would stop that, because it can spread on corrupt dirt, regular dirt, I want to say. Let me read here. It doesn't say, but I think it's corrupt dirt, regular dirt. I think it can grow on dying grass, but not spread. And then, of course, both types of creep. It can definitely grow on. But it can't grow on other things, so when I make the world, I'll definitely have to be careful with how it generates to make sure this doesn't take over the entire world. But it's also flammable, which is nice. I actually had to learn how to make things flammable. I didn't realize that none of my blocks were flammable because it's actually coded in a really stupid way. I actually don't like how they've implemented it in Forge, but whatever. I'm sure there's probably some kind of reason. But yeah, so when it burns... Okay, we need to turn the tick speed down. Stop it. Back to normal. When it burns, it has a chance of dropping a little seed down. And at the lowest growth stage, it's not flammable. So the idea is, yeah, here's where it's happened. It'll drop that down, and then the entire field can regrow from that very, very slowly. But I didn't want to make an entire flammable field, and then your world would just be destroyed if lava spawned near it forever. So this is how it works, and it will just naturally sometimes leave some anyway, but I thought this was a fun little thing to have a chance of that happening. The key was just making sure that it's not flammable at the first growth stage, so that it can regrow from there. But yeah, I thought that was a fun little thing. We don't really need to watch the whole thing. It'd regrow from that, though, and you get the whole field. But yeah, I did mention the growth height thing. It also has random growth height maximum just based on luck. It's not based on location or anything like some blocks do in the game. It's pure luck. So that's, you get the effect where sometimes you're in these little clearings. And I just have the idea of like a creeper sneaking up on you through this, and you're like trying to jump over to see it. You can't really see that well. Like if we summon, what's the creeper's creeper corrupt? I need to change that probably. But yeah, like if you're trying to see a creeper from this distance, you can't see him. It's crazy. But he's in here. So I think this will be a fun biome. And it's a fun block to have. you can get the seeds. It has a low chance of giving seeds when you break it, but you can also, I think, use shears maybe? I don't remember. It doesn't really matter. You're not going to be farming these. Blight bales are not like super special blocks, unless I guess you want them for decoration, then maybe you'd be farming them, but yeah. I just thought that was a fun little thing. And I think I'm probably going to get rid of this because it's going to be spawning all sorts of nonsense all over the place underneath, and I don't feel like listening to that. So goodbye. Yep. All right. So that is that. Hope I'm not forgetting anything. These videos are always so long because I don't plan things out. No, that's everything. But yeah, so that's my first 2-block high growing thing. It was a little complicated getting it able to grow 2 blocks high, and it's not perfect. Like, the top block can burn and leave the bottom block, which will have it a slight texture issue with looking like it's connected, and I can fix that, and I might. One of the things I'm doing is I'm actually releasing this video a few days before releasing the update, just so that I have time to really go through and bug fix and make sure that everything actually works the way it's supposed to. Because rushing it out is just a good way to, like, forget a recipe for something. Or something dumb like that. And I don't want that. Yeah, next up we have the Shifty Pad. It's obviously just a corrupted lily pad. So if you try to stand on it, it turns see-through. Interesting thing, if it turns back while you're standing on it, it shoves you underwater, which I think is funny. And you can actually jump off of it as long as you jump immediately. So you could actually have some fun with this thing. See, if you're too slow, you go through it. So there's actually some big potential with this block, honestly. I'm actually really happy with this idea as a thing, and obviously having more corrupt plant life is always good. It can grow on blight water and polluted water as well, so that's good. Not much else to say about it, though. Next up is the salt block. This has been on my to-do list for a long time. It's another thing that I don't know, really, I don't really have much of a use for. It'll hurt slimes if they get on top of it, though, which is a nice little feature. You could use it as a slime farm type thing if you didn't want to kill anything else. Really, the long-term plan is mostly, I'm thinking about having like a salt flat biome in the corrupt world, and I'm also thinking about its uses in food. Obviously, salt is a big deal in food. But for now, it's a block you find it under the oceans in small veins, and it will have a texture, actually. Like the falling sand texture, it's a slightly less common, but it just does that. It doesn't actually fall. But I thought, you know, maybe there's a use you could have for having those textures. Not textures, particles. Who knows? But it's not really intended as a building block, but you could definitely use it for something. And then these next 2 blocks, they are also linked to a new entity, but, you know, we're doing blocks first for whatever reason. So this is Woolly Block and Umbra Block. These are kind of similar to wool blocks in that they dampen sound, and they also count as insulation for making solid liquice. And whenever you craft them into carpet, you actually get twice the amount of carpet that you would from wool, but that's because getting the blocks is a bit harder. I think the texture looks really cool. It's not perfect on tiling, but I think it does look really cool. Nice to have a texture on carpet. You know, we've added quite a few new carpets. Oh, look at this. That have interesting textures, is what I'm saying, though. I do like these textures. It was hard coming up with a texture for this. My original inspiration for this block was those, like, fake fur pillows that they make that are, like, really smooth and soft. But getting that to work in a 16x16 texture was difficult for me. But this is what I came up with. It works. All right, so that is all of the blocks. Now we have entities. Added quite a few new entities, mostly corrupt entities, but not all. So first up, we have the corrupt slime. It's just the corrupt version of the glow slime. It makes corrupt slime trail, which is just the corrupt version of that. It'll turn grass underneath it into dying grass, and then that'll turn into coarse grass, I think, because it doesn't have light. I don't really know. But that is what it does. Shouldn't really be running into these in the actual game world, though. It actually turning this into coarse grass is a bug. Coarse dirt, I mean. I might have to fix that. It shouldn't be doing permanent damage to the world. It's a simple change. All I have to do is have the dying grass check if that's above it. So, not a big deal. Anyway, so those fur blocks come from the woolly cow. This is something I've been wanting to add for a long time, but the reason I didn't add it for the longest time is because these little dangly bits of fur there required adding additional modeling to my mod cow model. And you can do this to get their hair. It takes the little dangly bits off, and you get hair. 4 hair becomes a block. You can get 1 or 2 hair from shearing them. So yeah, that's how you get the Umbra and regular ones. They do actually have textures for shearing all their fur off, but I'm wanting to use them as snow and ice related entities, and that seemed kind of cruel. Like, these cows will actually take no damage from solid liquice and reduced damage from swimming in liquid liquice. Is there anything else to say about them? Oh, the woolly cows actually do rarely spawn in some biomes. Let's see. And there's a rare chance of breeding them if you're in an area with snow as well. Anything else? They're immune to powder snow, although they do get stuck in it. It's kind of weird. It kind of feels like a glitch that entities that are immune to powder snow just get stuck standing in it forever. Like, I tested it with polar bears and he just stood there. Unless I'm missing something. I've not really played with powder snow before. But it seemed kind of weird to me that they just get stuck and can't move in it. So I don't know if I'm missing something with that. Or maybe that's just intended. But it's weird. What else? Woolly cows. Oh yeah, and if you breed 2 woolly cows together, you will always get a woolly cow. I didn't do the whole 20% chance because they're intended to be a natural species, not just a weird variant that you get through special breeding. I do actually have big plans for the whole breeding thing. I want to introduce a genetics mechanic where you can increase the breeding chances, and we'll see if that happens. It's kind of hard to say when I'll do it. It might be an Alpha 8 or 9 thing. I'm kind of feeling motivated for it because I've got all these different things, especially with the woolly cows. Like, the idea is, like, maybe if you breed one randomly through a snowy biome, you get one with 0% genetic integrity, which would give the 20% chance. But if you get a wild spawn one that has 100%, which is always guaranteed, and maybe some species would only have a maximum of like 50% or 80% or something. It's a whole thing. It'll be quite a bit of work, I'm sure. But I am interested in it. This next thing here, this is a honey slime. I gave it a name because I can't remember if they despawn. I don't think they do. But yeah, they give honey, I believe. Yeah, so you can get honey from them. It will take time to recharge, I think. Or no, wait, it does damage. That's what it is. So it would kill them, you taking the honey. It'll make bees angry if you do that, by the way. Getting that to work was a little bit of work. But yeah, if you take honey from them, it makes nearby bees angry, which is kind of funny. If they're the biggest size, they have a 50% chance of dropping an actual honey block, which is pretty big. This is just a fun little idea I had. I've actually found one in my playtesting world, so they're not impossible to find. Let me see. I'm doing everything out of order. I didn't stick to the order of my changelog today, and that is not a good idea. Yeah, so it deals 1 damage when you use a glass bottle. And they spawn in the flower forest, the meadow, the birch forest, and the old growth birch forest biomes. So quite a bit. But yeah, it's just a cool little way to get honey. And, you know, I was already adding custom slimes, and I liked the idea. Since honey already looks like a slime, might as well add a honey slime. All right, and as mentioned earlier, we do have the ghost sheep. This is the corrupt version of the sheep. I wasn't sure if this texture would work, but this texture works, and this is really cool, having see-through fur on them. I had to learn quite a bit to get that to work. It was definitely a journey getting sheep to render. I had to update the sheep model a bit in this update, let each leg have a different texture. Can't remember. I think it was for these guys. Yeah, you can see how those dots are in the middle, so I had to update that. So there's quite a bit of sheep model related work. in this update. What else? What else? We have the Duskwing Duck. This is the corrupted duck. It's basically just like a midnight chicken, but it doesn't give you sentry eggs. I'll probably add a special use in the future for it, because most of the other corrupted like farm animals have special uses, like the Umbra cow gives Umbra fur, and the midnight chicken gives sentry eggs, and so on. Most of them are useful, so I'll probably give it a use in the future. I just wanted to get a duck variant in, because my custom mobs were kind of feeling a bit unfinished, you know, with otters having no variants and ducks only having runner ducks. So now we have this. The idea behind it is like the head is like the moon, and the body's like the sunset, and then the wings and rest of the body is like the darkness of night. It's also just kind of hard to make duck textures. This was the first one I got where I was even remotely satisfied with it, so I stuck with it. All right, so next up, we have the bronzed chicken, which this is something I've wanted to add for a long time. Part of the reason why I added the 10, because this is a Minecraft Earth mob, but what I did was I made it where it will lay a bronze egg, which can be smelted into a bronze ingot. So this is a way to get unlimited bronze for free. Now, it does take forever to actually give you. Do I say? I don't say how long. They can't swim, which is kind of funny. I didn't think to test that in this video, but we can just kill one here. But yeah, they can't swim. I tried to make it where they would try to walk out of water, and sometimes they do, but I don't know. They're not very smart. It was hard to motivate them without going too crazy into the AI. So if you lead them to water, there's a good chance they'll just drown, but they shouldn't usually go into water willingly. So it'd mostly be if you push them into water that they die. But I thought that'd be the one downside, at least, to the unlimited bronze. But since bronze is mostly useless, it's only used for equipment, and these are a bit of an effort to get. They breed with bronze nuggets, and to actually get them in the game, you have to create the bronzed egg, which is right here. And you might think, oh, they just lay bronzed eggs. No, they lay bronze eggs. To get bronzed eggs, you need a compressor. Or what did I call it? Compactor? I don't remember. I'm always changing the names on these things. Yeah, we need some redstone. We want some bronze ingots. And we want a regular old egg. I've been working on getting one of these in my playtest world, and so far I have not had luck. It's just standard hatch chances from the eggs, which I think is 1 out of 8, but I have not had those odds. But yeah, so we do this, and you do... Wait, is that duck egg? We don't want duck egg. So yeah, so this is how you get the bronzed egg, and then you just throw it, and you have a small chance of actually getting the bronze chicken. Once you have them, you can just breed them with the nuggets, although, like I said, the breeding chance... Well, I didn't say it, but the breeding chance is the standard breeding, which I think is like 10% if it's mixed, or 20% if they're both. I'm going off memory here, so I might be wrong. But yeah, bronze chicken, it's pretty cool. But it's like 30 or 40 minutes, I think, for the bronze egg, so it's not like you're going to be able to get a huge amount, with the breeding chances being low and them needing bronze to breed and the long wait. You're like, to build up to something where you're getting like ridiculous amounts of bronze, it's going to take a while. Plus, just even getting them requires quite a bit of bronze in the first place, unless you're lucky. Even then, it does require 8 ingots. But yeah, so it's a bit of effort to get them, but I like them as an idea. And I don't know if low-tier metal really needs to be, you know, something that's super hard to get, especially because I will be adding more and more difficult things in the future. Like, the corrupt world is definitely going to be a hard mode of the normal world, so maybe you'll need unlimited bronze just to do it. Is that everything in here? I believe it is. Oh, well, I didn't go over the long-nosed sheep. This is just the rare sheep variant. Like, I have... What are the other ones? I think it's like albino cow. Can't remember what the chicken one is. golden chicken or something like that. But yeah, you just have a really low chance of breeding one of these when you're breeding sheep. How nice of you to poop out an egg right in front of us. But yeah, this is another Minecraft Earth texture that I brought in. They give 2 to 3 brown wool. So they're slightly better than brown sheep because you are guaranteed to get 2 instead of 1 to 3. But other than that, you know, there's nothing too special about them. They're just really hard to get and kind of weird looking. But I'd been wanting to get the rare sheep variant because I don't want anybody to be, you know, mass breeding without the chance of getting the rare one, you know. It'd be like playing through the entire Pokemon game before you can unlock the chance of getting shinies. It's just not fun. You want to be able to get the shinies from the very beginning. Otherwise, you feel like you're missing out on a chance. So that's all the land mobs. We also have bass, which I thought about adding a special fish, but I decided just add a big fish. So they're the biggest fish in the game. They're not that big. I didn't go crazy, but they are bigger than salmon. And they give food that is very slightly better than salmon. They spawn only in rivers. Right now they're just as common as salmon, but I might change them to be slightly rarer than salmon. The problem is, whenever they're designing biomes, if they're not worried about the balance, they just put the rarity at the lowest possible setting. But since they're the only one, like salmon are the only thing that spawn in rivers for whatever reason, they didn't add fish variety, but it doesn't matter how rare they are in the system because they're the only choice. But it means that whenever I add mine in, I add them at the lowest amount, and we have an issue where it's 50-50 now. Ugh. My throat is not enjoying this talking. I'm not used to talking for a long amount of times in YouTube videos. I need to get back to it. Yeah, there's nothing particularly special about them. I mostly added them for the pun potential of bass, you know, bass and bass and all that fun stuff. You know, bass are kind of a memey fish, I guess you could say. There's the talking fish, and yeah, just I wanted to have something more for rivers as well. And they're kind of an all-terrain fish, I guess. You can have them under the ice in the frozen rivers. You can have them in all sorts of places. So yeah, there they are. The texture's not like amazing or anything. I wouldn't say I'm like super happy with it. And that goes for quite a few textures. Like I'm not super happy with the tin or block textures either. Are there any others that I'm not super happy with? I don't know, maybe that's it. Most of the things I'm pretty happy with, but yeah. I don't know, I just wanted to get to something. And I did say I was going to add a fish with every update, maybe? With every update. Yeah. So this is the one for this one. Next one will probably be something a bit more interesting. Either mechanics-wise or just appearance. And it'll probably be in the ocean, not in rivers. Because I don't want to crowd the rivers too much right away. I wanted something to just be in frozen rivers, but it's kind of hard to find a good fish for that. Like a well-known fish that would have something special about it rather than just being another generic fish but one that nobody's ever heard of. So I don't know. But yeah, that is all the entities we have added. There's still a few items though. We have the Creeper's Hiss. This was inspired by playtesting with my wife. I have not used it on her yet, so she doesn't know this exists, but it makes the creeper noise. When you're not in creative mode, it actually has only 10 uses before it breaks, and then you have to repair it with a goat horn. Let me see. It doesn't say what it's made with on here, but I think it requires the crafting station, and it requires a goat horn, which is where the texture came from. Goat horn probably requires... Oh, right. This is the big feature of it, is that it's an actual use for the luft sack. I was nice enough to not make that the degradable part of it. It's the goat horn that is. Not that I've ever had a goat horn. I've not even seen a goat, I think, in my playtest world, which is kind of crazy, but I spawn in a warm area, so whatever. And then gunpowder, just to give it a creeper connection. Let's do this. This is one where I want to show off the crafting recipe. Yeah, there it is. So yeah, it has 10 uses before you have to just craft it together with a goat horn, which I lost my goat horn. But that's just a standard crafting recipe. You just exchange it. So at any damage level, you can do this, I think. It's probably positional. I don't know. Or maybe it's because it's not damaged yet. I don't remember. But the point is, that's how you repair it. And yeah. It's a very good meme thing. Oh, I'm going to have fun when I finally get to use this. For sure. All right, let me read through my entire changelog to see if I've forgotten any items. Like, we've shown bronze, we've shown electrum, we've seen the blight. I didn't really show the blight grass, I think, but I mean, it's just wheat, but purple. So, yeah. And the seeds, of course. Let's see here. We've shown sapphires. We have... Oh, I completely forgot about this one. All right, we have onyx as an actual tool thing, which is pretty cool. Bonus feature of onyx is the pickaxe is actually 3 times faster at breaking through obsidian items. So that's actually a big deal considering I add all those different obsidian items. So onyx finally has a use. It's pretty hard to find. Onyx will probably be more common in the corrupt world, actually. So this would be where you would probably be getting most of your onyx from, not the nether. The nether is just where you get it right now. Let me read it. What else is there to say about onyx? I gotta find it. For some reason, it's hard to find this line in my thing. Okay. So it's generally the same as diamond. It's slightly more enchantable, but less than netherite. And I did that because you can't be upgraded into netherite, so it's kind of its own thing. That's its disadvantage, you could say, is that diamond can be upgraded, but onyx can't. You have to use the crafting station as well, which is the other big disadvantage to it. Let's see. Anything else? I think that might be it for items. I'm just going to read through once again. Oh, right. So the corrupt slime, if you break the corrupt slime with a non-shovel item, then it has a chance of corrupting the block underneath it. So you'll have to gather it with a shovel. So that might be where that coarse dirt came from. I wasn't paying close enough attention. I forgot about that mechanic, honestly. So the idea is if you want to get rid of it without like getting creep or corrupt dirt or whatever underneath it, then you gotta do the shovel. Which actually getting it to check if it was a shovel was actually kind of difficult. But that's only because I had to learn how. It's simple once you find it. It's just hard to find things when you Google because all the instructions are for like 10-year-old versions of Minecraft. It's really hard to find help for specific things related to 1.19 or even older versions like 1.18, 1.17. A lot of the advice is for older versions. Let me see. Reading this whole thing will be good in case I forgot to mention anything else. But I don't think I did. Blight grass. Very flammable. Shifty pad. The shifty pad is invisible for 4 seconds if you were wondering about it. Nope, that is all for the items. All right, so now we just have a few small changes to go over, which some of them have been mentioned. We have the new sheep model that allows for different leg textures. Creep. I should preface this next one. So part of the reason this is the corrupt date is I rewrote the whole corruption system for entities so that it's separate, because it used to be that for the most part only Blightwater itself was corrupting stuff. There was a couple things coded into other ones, but not really. So, but I made its own function where I just say corrupt all entities and it'll just do it. So now creep can corrupt mobs. Blue creep has twice the chances of green. Blight ice can now corrupt all entities. It used to just do creepers. A creeper explosion has a 20% chance of corrupting entities that are affected by the explosion. So we could test that one. Let's see. You know, I'll just get some chicken eggs, I guess. Regular old chicken eggs. Get me a creeper egg. There we go. And we already have the flint and steel. So let's just go over here. Spawn a whole bunch of chickens. Spawn a creeper. And there you go. Some of them turned. I think that's a really cool effect. And you can also see how it got some blight grass, which is pretty nice. Do I still have it on the fast grow speed? Oh, it's set to 3. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I thought that was a really cool feature. And now that I have it to where creepers can actually spawn sometimes, like that's a way for corruption stuff to actually appear in the world more commonly than having to wait for it to accidentally fall into blight water or whatever, or you purposely make it. But this way, you might actually have corrupt things exist, which would be cool. I should probably make it to where they spawn as corrupted when that happens. But, I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, what else we got? Corrupted mobs are immune to creeper explosion damage, but some undead mobs don't get hurt by corrupted stuff, but will be hurt by creeper explosions. So that'd be like skeletons and things. They're not actually corrupted, but they kind of are. It's its whole thing. What else? Stone can now be corrupted into slate or sometimes into pyrite. I don't remember the odds, but it's kind of rare, but it'll happen. It's a way to get pyrite in the main world, and slate is the corrupted stone. In the corrupt world, it's going to be mostly slate. It's a whole thing. That's why 10 spawns in slate and deep slate is because... where am I? There I am. It's because it's going to be in the corrupt world, and that's where you're going to be finding it, is in these ores in the corrupt world. And no regular stone variant. Plus it'd blend in with the regular stone a bit, I think. But that's the idea there. I just think the more things that are corruptible, the more like effective creepers and things are at being a game mechanic, which is why this update focused so much on adding corrupt variants of things. I think it definitely fleshes out the thing that we get like corrupt grass and stuff, and it doesn't just disappear. What else? Now, all of my mod sheep will heal 1 health when they eat grass, or in the case of the ghost sheep, it can actually eat creep as well, and it will heal 1 health. I didn't add that to regular sheep because that's not easy. It's not necessary either, really. I just always thought it should be a thing, so now my sheep do it. I also split the rocky and slime sheeps from previous updates into their own entity types, which lets them have their own spawn eggs and stuff, along with all the other ones that I've added. I'm slowly doing that to most of my special ones. The only ones that I haven't really been doing it for is the rare ones, like the long-nosed sheep. This guy, he doesn't have one. If I do pick block on him, I don't get one. But like this guy has one, because all the new ones I'm adding pretty much are their own entity type. It just means you can use them with the summon command and have eggs. It's very convenient. If it weren't for that, I wouldn't bother, because it's actually nicer not to have to deal with all the different entity types, but because the game's set up specifically to work with only entity types and no variants, that's how it has to be. Next up, all right, we've already seen it, but I did actually update the onyx ore texture. I can place it down. It's still not like an amazing texture, but it's a heck of a lot better than the old one. I mean, I think it's okay. Onyx ore is so rare, though, you're unlikely to really see it very much unless you're really exploring the nether. This was a hard texture to make, too. I really struggled with it. It wasn't the hardest texture, though, in this update. I think that was probably, maybe these. Well, it was only this one. This one's just a recaller, so that was easy. That was pretty hard. I mean, the bass was also a lot of work, but I don't know if I would describe it as hard. It was just time-consuming. Let's see. Okay, the other one's a big one, which I thought was impossible because so many people posted saying it's not possible, it's not possible. Even in recent versions of Forge, they're saying it's not possible, it's not possible. But we actually have the recipe guide for all of my custom block, like custom recipe types, and it works where like the obsidian furnace can show all the different types, and not just like the special obsidian furnace recipes, which I don't really have anything unlocked, but this was a lot of work to get working because there's literally no examples on the internet of how to use this feature. Most people deny it even exists. Hopefully they don't just delete it, but it was a nightmare getting this to work. You would not believe. This was the hardest thing of this update, was getting this recipe guide working. But I felt it was important. Having one that didn't show my items was kind of annoying. So I had previously removed it from some of them, but I had to re-add it in. So now, like, the, what are the things called? We have the obsidian furnace, the cooking cauldron, the compactor, and what's the last one? can't remember what it is. Is it the grinder? It's not the grinder. That's the grindstone. Crusher, it's the crusher. Yeah, the crusher has one as well. And, yeah. There you go. You can make sand. And it was also really annoying. One of the things that really stumped me was getting this stuff to appear. It turned out I just forgotten, like, one little line of code I hadn't noticed was even needed. But, yeah, it was really annoying because everything else worked but this for a while. But now that works. It was really annoying, too, because, like, it would work on the obsidian furnace, but not on any of the others, and I had no idea why, and then it stopped working on the obsidian furnace. It was its whole thing. It was a nightmare. But yeah, so that works. I'm very happy to have that. It was really annoyed that so many people said it was impossible. It's so hard to get proper information. And then the documentation on this, like, you can't do certain things or it won't work, but you have no way of knowing. I couldn't find a mod with an example. I'm sure somebody's probably used it at some point in history, but I couldn't figure it out. So what's with that line? It's interesting. I'd never noticed that line before. Is that line on all of them? No. I wonder if that's just an error with the texture for the compactor. Oh well. It's a thing. It's not a big deal. I'll probably fix it. Yeah, only one last thing I think on the list, which is now I made it to where you can use an onyx to make a jukebox if you're using the crafting station. There's not really any reason for that to exist. It just kind of makes sense. I thought about making it to where you can make a crafting station with an onyx, and I might in the future, but that does actually require a different texture because the idea is these tools are made out of diamond. So if I was going to make an onyx one, they would have to be dark instead of blue. I don't know if I would make this dark as well, or if I would keep that blue and just change those. It's a simple change. I just didn't feel like doing it, and it doesn't seem important, because right now, there's no situation where you're going to have an onyx and not be able to get a diamond. But in the future, I kind of want Corrupt World to be like a challenge mode, kind of, where you like start as a blank slate in Corrupt World and never leave. In which case, I might want more options for non-diamonds, because diamonds aren't going to be much of a thing in the Corrupt World. They'll exist, but you're not going to be wanting to throw them away, making a bunch of crafting stations and jukeboxes and whatever. They're going to be a rare thing for like enchanting tables and stuff like that, making maybe netherite. If you can go to the nether from the Corrupt World. I don't even know if you can. That'll be a thing to decide in the future. Yeah, that's the entire changelog. It's a fair amount of things, and we do have things that actually spawn in the world now, because the honey slime spawns, the woolly cow spawns, of course the bass spawns. So the world's starting to fill up a little more with mod stuff. So when you're playing, there it is. All these things are rare individually, but the more that I add, the more likely you are to run into them. And once I get the genetic update, you'll actually be able to brute force your way to some of these variants. Oh, I forgot to turn off rain. I usually do that before I record, but whatever. But yeah, with the genetic thing, a lot of these rare variants will be more obtainable in large numbers. Like, obviously, you can get them. It's like a 1 out of 50 chance. It takes a little while, but they're obtainable. But getting a huge herd of them will be a lot easier once I add the genetic stuff. Hopefully it will be soon, but we will see. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this update. I don't really know for sure where the mod's going to go next, except that I'm hoping, once again, to continue working on it, to wait until 1.20 to do the Corrupt World update, if I can figure it out in 1.20. Honestly, I've not looked into how other mods handle that sort of thing. There is a few extra things I need to do, like there's some blocks in my mod that aren't flammable because of the way it's done. Like, I have to make a custom, like if I want to have flammable orange stairs, I have to make a custom block that is exactly a stairs but has an extra function that says it's flammable. A lot of things, like if you want a block to glow, you just take a regular block and say, you just say this block glows. But for fire stuff, you got to make a second block and copy everything, and it's just, I don't know why it has to work like that. Why can't it just be a little property that you add to any existing block, like a lot of other things are in the game? But whatever, I'll do it. It just didn't seem worth it. Like, I hadn't even noticed that things weren't flammable. Like, I'd even listed like, oh, Picandra wood isn't flammable, but I had never actually bothered to check if orange wood was flammable. I'd put it in a tag that said flammable wood or whatever, but that doesn't actually make it flammable. I think that's used for furnaces to know if you can cook them. I thought it was how the game decided they burned, but apparently not. But yeah, I did make Picandra leaves flammable, by the way, but not the logs, so it's a thing. I do need to get Picandra. Picandra actually is going to work into the whole Electrum thing, believe it or not. I've had a plan for Picandra for a long time. It just hasn't been important enough to implement because it's a bit of work. And it's just going to be another, like, currently useless thing that exists just because I have a long-term plan. But, you know, eventually it will. They'll be more common in the corrupt world, maybe. The idea is they're immune to corruption, so I believe they're immune to corruption. Anyway, I should stop talking now. This has probably been quite a long video. I've not been looking. Hey, it's less than an hour. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know when Alpha 8 will come out. If it'll be another month, if it'll be 2 months, or whatever. Or what will be in it. I don't know. It seems like we're getting pretty close to 1.19.4 coming out. Hopefully, updating Craftamari to that is possible fast and quick and not difficult at all. And hopefully the 1.20 update isn't a nightmare like the 1.19 and 1.17 updates were. Because that wasn't fun. And I would hate, like, one of the things that is making me nervous is I'm adding all of these things, and every new type of feature I add is another thing that could just completely blow up in my face in 1.20. Like, imagine if all those days I spent getting this stupid thing to work were a waste because it all changed in 1.20. I would be so mad. Hopefully that doesn't happen, though. Hopefully it's relatively small. But anyway, yeah, so that is Alpha 7, the corrupt date, as it is known. Although not officially, because I kind of want to keep that as the official name for when I add the corrupt dimension. But whatever. So I'll see you guys next time, whenever that may be. And if you were on my Patreon, I'd be releasing this mod most likely on the 16th. Alpha 7 will be technically released to the public, as long as you're a member of my Patreon. But we are probably getting closer to a more public release now that I'm getting, like, woolly cows and stuff. I don't want to release this mod until the game actually feels modded when you load into it. That's the thing. It doesn't, like, right now you load into the world, you usually don't see a single modded thing anywhere. That needs to change, but we'll get there. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!